Hello! These are the Freeaim VR shoes, motorized shoes that allow you to walk in VR with your actual legs. This is an update video where I, Alex, go over some of the things that the Freeaim team has been working on. Sorry for not making a video in a while, we've been very busy. But before the updates, I want to let you know that Freeaim is going to be at AWE this year. It's in Long Beach, California, June 18th through the 20th, and we're going to be in the playground area giving demos. So if you want to try the VR shoes out, we hope to see you there. Plus, we're going to be making some announcements while we're there. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go over some updates. First, I'm going to talk about support equipment options that the Freeaim team has been prototyping and working on. After I go over the options and after you're done watching the video, there is a link to a survey about support equipment. We'd really appreciate if you gave us your opinion by going to that survey and filling it out. The link is in the video description or the pinned comment below. Or you can also leave us a comment and tell us your thoughts about support equipment in general. With the VR shoes, do you want to use support equipment? Do you think it's necessary? Or do you just not want to use it at all? And what kind of equipment that you like? And just to be clear, our intent with the VR shoes is for them to be good enough to not need any support equipment at all. But we're exploring options, and this is a brand new product, and there aren't many products out there like this, so we're being cautious. Okay, with all that being said, the first option that I'm showing here is what we call a hex frame, because it looks like a hexagon, and it's a freestanding frame that is stationary, that doesn't move, that the user is inside of, and the user holds on to the top of the frame like a handrail and uses it as a guide and a helping hand and to keep themselves upright if they feel unstable. The frame is sturdy and lightweight, and from our testing, we found that people really like to have something to hold on to when they're using the VR shoes for the first time. No matter how good the VR shoes are, it's just more reassuring to someone who's brand new to them to be able to just hold on to something while they're learning. But of course, a frame like this limits your freedom of movement a bit. For example, you can't sidestep as much. And the frame essentially functions as a handrail, so to be effective, the user has to be holding on to the frame. But overall, we like this frame a lot. It's a simple frame and it should be cheap to build. Plus, we've made it so that this prototype can fold up into a compact size. And with it being lightweight and being able to fold up, while you're not using the VR shoes, you can store the frame like in a closet or somewhere off to the side so that it doesn't take up a lot of space while you're not using the shoes. Next, I'll just mention that we've considered the option of a ceiling mounted harness, but we think this is really only useful and practical for businesses where they can drill into the ceiling, or we could provide them an overhead frame like I'm showing here. And lastly, the other option we've been considering is what we call, for now, a swivel caster frame because it uses swivel casters. With this frame, the user has a waist-mounted harness and the frame moves around with the user. So as the user turns and moves around their play space, the frame moves along with them. The frame also has handlebars on the side so that as the user is first learning how to use the VR shoes, they can still hold on to the frame because again, we found that people like to be able to hold on to something when they first use the shoes. With this frame, the user doesn't have to be holding on to anything to be fully protected from a fall since they are secured to the frame via the waist harness. And this frame doesn't limit freedom of movement as much since it moves around with you. But since the frame extends past the user a little bit, like in front of them and behind them, the user will want to set up the Guardian a little smaller so that if they get to the edge of the Guardian, the bottom of the frame isn't already outside the Guardian hitting something. But I think that's pretty normal. Normally when you set up a Guardian, there's kind of a buffer that you add between wherever the Guardian is and say a wall, so that if you get right up next to the Guardian, you don't just immediately hit a wall. So I think it's pretty similar to that. So those are the support options that we've been considering. Again, we have that survey, link in the video description or the pinned comment, or you can leave a comment below the video, and we'd really appreciate if you could give us your thoughts on these. We're strongly considering sending some sort of support option with every pair of VR shoes. Again, our intent is for the shoes to be good enough to not need a support option, but this is a new piece of technology that hasn't really been done before, and we want to be cautious. I'll go over some of the features that we've been working on to make the experience that people have at AWE when they're trying out the VR shoes better. The first one is profiles. In case you don't know, there's a mobile app that goes with the VR shoes, and using this mobile app we can configure settings on the shoes like how fast they go, how fast they stop, and a whole bunch of other settings like that. We now have several profiles that we can switch between, so that when we're at the expo, we can switch to the beginner profiles when total beginners are trying out the VR shoes, but when some of the Freeaim team is demoing the shoes, we can switch to the more experienced profiles. Next, we've introduced 3 different movement modes for the shoes. The mode that you've always seen in these videos is automatic mode, where when you start walking, the shoes start going backwards, and the shoes try to adjust their speed and stop and start according to what you are doing. But now we have another mode called Treadmill mode, where it functions like a gym treadmill. There is a big start button on the mobile app, and when you press that start button, the shoes will slowly start up. So it's about over 2 or 3 seconds where the shoes will slowly start up, just like a gym treadmill. And while you're holding that button, the shoes will keep going, and they'll maintain a constant speed, whatever you set in the app. And then when you let go of that button, the shoes will slow down over 3 seconds. So it's a very gradual start up and slow down. And we found that this mode is helpful for beginners because the beginners are in more control of the shoes. They can feel more confident that they can stop and start the shoes when they want, and they can build up some trust with the shoes. So we think this will be really helpful at the expo. And of course, users can get used to different speeds before they try them in automatic mode. I was showing 75% speed before, but here I'm showing 100% speed, which is quite a bit faster, especially while you're in VR. Besides treadmill mode, we obviously have automatic mode, and then the third mode that we introduced is semi-automatic mode. With semi-automatic mode, we're taking automatic mode, but we're adding some additional functionality on top of it. The features we added on top make the motion during a continuous walk a bit smoother. With automatic mode, the speed can vary a little bit as it's trying to adjust the speed up and down to match what the user's doing. But with semi-automatic mode, it doesn't vary as much, and it can provide a bit of a smoother experience while continuous walking. But both modes work really well. Automatic mode is a little bit better for experienced users. Semi-automatic mode can be a bit better for beginners, but they can both be used. For example, I am using semi-automatic mode in the footage you see here. We're still experimenting with these modes, and we'll improve them over time. And one last thing, with treadmill mode, we've started experimenting with walking backwards. So as we progress with that, we'll share more updates in the future. And lastly, some of you may have noticed that the gameplay that's been going on in the background is using games that don't support VR. These are not VR games. The games are High on Life and Rip Out. These games were made to support VR by using PreyDog's Unreal Engine VR injector, and we wanted to see if the injector would work with the VR shoes as well. And as you can see, they do. So any game that works with the injector should also work with the VR shoes. That's it for this video. We hope to see you at AWE this year, and remember, there's that survey about the support equipment. If you could fill that out, we'd greatly appreciate it. Like and comment and subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time.